remember it was May 20th. I downloaded the app, I believe, the beginning of May. May 20th, Devin Haney fought Lomachenko. And that was the first fight I ever wagered on. I believe I bet 20 to make, I think, like anywhere. I think it was like 85 or 10,000 I made around there. And I just bet on Devin money line. From that day on, I started betting every single weekend on fights. And then I built enough of a bankroll to now be able to do it full time. I actually left my job 2 months ago, and now I'm just doing this full time now. So that's actually how I started. So I've only been doing it for about a year and a half.
Interesting. Who gave you that advice? Because so I lived from 2011 to 2013. I lived in Las Vegas and I bartended on the Strip at Planet Hollywood at this place. And my roommate and I, we would go to the sports book down in Planet Hollywood. You know, we had come from Long Beach, LA, and we were bright-eyed, and we're doing like 18 parlays, you know, $50 to win like 40 grand. Nothing would ever hit. And
Right.
one of these old timers who saw me coming, you know, every weekend was like, look, you're never going to win if you're betting that way. The way to bet is go heavy on one or maybe two options and just be patient with it. So like I never listened to him. I didn't have, you know, I was broke at the time. So he kind of gave you that heads up on your style of like, you know, 20 grand on one outcome.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I did that first fight on Devin, I'm like looking at the other odds because as we all know, the boxing lines is nothing like the UFC lines or basketball, football lines. You know, they're not minus 150, minus 120. We're not getting those type of lines in boxing. We're getting minus 800, you know, minus 2,000. So actually, my bookie, who I told you about a little bit, Johnny, that I go on lives with, you know, about 2 nights a week. His name is Gary. He got his own YouTube channel called 3D Boxing. Real good friend of real good friend of mine. So he was actually the one that told me about the parlays. I connected with him, and I sent him a message on Instagram. He responded back, and then we started just picking each other's brain. And he's like, "Listen, man, the best way to make money, you know, in boxing is to parlay anywhere from 2 to 3 fights. So, you know, to obviously bring down the odds." So I started doing that tactic to see how it would work out for me, and I remember I ended up doing a 3-leg parlay. And I usually make my money. Most of my money is from Top Rank cards because I mean, they're great matchmakers over there at Top Rank, man.
For
And
the
I
gamblers?
make a killing. If you look at my tickets, most of those fights are from Top Rank. So my tactic is, Johnny, I do 3 fights, anywhere from 2 to 3 fights. Sometimes I'll do a little bit more, maybe 4, but I usually do 3. That's my sweet spot. And I only do anywhere from minus 100 to like minus 290. Anything under minus 300 is what I usually, you know, get my odds at on these parlays. And I don't just take money lines when I'm doing the parlays. Sometimes I'll go in there and I'll do some prop bets too. You know, I'll take, like, say, Abdullah Mason by stoppage. I'll take Keyshawn Davis money line. I'll take Richard Torres fight not to go the distance. You know what I mean? And I'm usually I'm getting anywhere from like minus 160, minus 170, and I just load up on it. And that's why I'm getting those, you know, those big payouts.
Yeah, so last week, for the first time in a long time, for me personally, I saw a fight and I saw the odds, and I was as close to 100% as I felt in a long, long time on bets. You know, you talk to a lot of bettors before the fights, man, this is a lock. Everything's a lock, right? Until it isn't. And that was the Duran Ennis versus Stanionis fight, specifically the stoppage. And there were a lot of people, they just weren't seeing what I was seeing. I really liked that fight. We know how it turned out. My question, though, is this week's cards. This week, there's a bunch of fights. I know we're headlining 4 of them, but you can feel free to talk about any of them based on this question. Do you see any fight that jumps off the page that you feel that is a lock this week?
Oh, Dalton Smith.
In terms of value. I mean, maybe let me rephrase
in terms of value.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of value, because I mean, Boots. What were the odds for him to knock Stanionis out? 3-1.
I think it was like 3-1, I believe.
Yeah,
I believe it was 3-1.
You never see that, and I was like, damn, that's so. Do you see any? Because I just found one now. My book doesn't let me. I'm just learning the timing of the sports bet app down here. They usually wait till Friday to open up the method of victory bets. So I just had a look. I wrote them down, and I'm happy with a few method of victory bets on the fights that we covered. And it's like you told me the other day on a phone call. You were like, "There's a lot of money to be made this weekend in boxing." So I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm still waiting on a couple method of victory props to drop on DraftKings. Like right now, they don't have Dalton Smith by stoppage out yet. They don't even have Conwell method of victory yet either. So they only have Pandora.
Okay, so I got right now the sport guys. If you're from Australia, you'll know the sports bet app. Also, I appreciate everyone tapping in. Crispy Chris, you're the man. Rocket, I appreciate you. Rando for life. We are going to get to that Ben Cameron fight, guys. You know we have to. But I want to relay some info to Muscle real quick. Down here, they got Conwell by stop. So to save the verbiage, by knockout or TKO. I know some
Yep.
people new to the channel when they were watching the predictions last week. They were confused on why Jaron Ennis's bet counted as a knockout, but he wasn't out unconscious. So I'm going to just say stoppage, right?
Yep.
A TKO or KO stoppage, guys. Conwell, $1.69. Dalton Smith, $1.26. Fundora, $1.81. Those are the odds for stoppages. And that brings it up. Money line, Conwell goes from $1.09 to $1.69. Smith goes from $1.07 to $1.26, which is interesting. Fundora goes from $1.06 to $1.81. And mate, having watched Fundora, how she looked in her last fight, especially against her Argentinian opponent, who I feel was a bigger test than Badillo. No disrespect to Badillo, she is 15-0. But yeah. So any of those with those numbers jump out that you see maybe that you really like?
I really like Conwell. I really, yeah, I really like, and I do like Fedora too. But I think with the price that, because like I said, DraftKings hasn't dropped the prop yet on
Yeah,
Conwell,
yeah.
so like,
Just
you know
based
what I
off the
mean?
numbers that $1.69 on Conwell to stop a guy in Chino Garcia that has a handful of losses, but is going to be a tough opponent. I mean, the tape I watched, this is a stylistic dream. If you're a Conwell fan and you like that stoppage.
Oh, and to be honest with you, his opponent, I mean, he's tailor made for Conwell,
Yeah,
man. I mean,
yeah.
I see a
So I like
stoppage.
that too.
Yeah,
I'll
I
wait.
mean, I see a stoppage sometimes mid rounds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mid
So,
rounds.
so
So
you don't get that fancy with your. I haven't. You don't get that fancy when you're picking rounds, do you?
no,
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
done that before, and it
Yeah,
cost me, man. I
that's like
learned from
Russian
that.
roulette, man. When we're out here picking rounds, it's like, come on, this is like who has the bigger dick contest. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
picking rounds,
yeah,
dude. What are you
no,
talking about?
no.
Yeah.
I mean, what
Okay.
I like better than that though than picking rounds is doing it's a little bit safer, like doing rounds from 1 through 6 or 7 to 12.
How does that affect the odds? Would you go heavy on something like that?
I would
Because I know
not go
you.
heavy on that.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
go
Maybe
very,
then.
very light, very small.
Maybe for the channel, we'll create some umbrella boundaries for everybody who's tapping in right now. What are your sort of like 1 to 2 rules or methods that you go by when you're like, all right, for me to go heavy, it has to be A, B, and C. What are those sort of systems that you have that you could share with us?
Yeah, so when I go heavy, as you see from my tickets, when I bet those 20s and those 50s, those are on guaranteed. I'm talking, because so what I do is I study tape. So if let's say Abdullah Mason's fighting, Giovanni Cabrera. I'm watching
Yep.
3 fights of Abdullah and I'm watching 3 fights of Giovanni. And then what I do is I'll look at the odds when DraftKings, when the book drops the line on the odds, and then I'll start playing with the numbers. I'll start at, adding Abdullah to the parlay with whoever's on the card that weekend as well. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that once I parlay them, that the odds is going to give me the total odds I'm talking about is going to give me anywhere from minus one, say 150 to minus like 260. And then that's when I'll get in there and I'll drop the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s to get the $20,000 to $30,000 payouts. But I'm
Yeah.
only doing those on guaranteed locks. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Uh
I'm
huh.
making sure that I'm doing money lines. I'm not doing methods of victories because I know the more money for my buck would be with those method of victories, but there's more risk there where I could potentially lose my money. So I just keep a straight money line. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. And let just kind of refresh everybody who might be tapping in late. You only bet unboxing. And guys, if you need a reminder, go to the community section of my channel if you want. I posted Muscle Brown's most recent wins, or the guy's not doing $100 bets like me. He's doing like $50,000 bets. So you get to see his bet slips that I posted. And in this, we're talking about the system, his methodology. He's not going 50K with 3 fighters. He's going 50K money line on a fight, maybe 2 fights, right?
Yeah, two to three. But if the odds are good enough at two, I'm gonna like if I'm doing 2 fights and I'm getting minus 130, minus 140, I'm not gonna add an extra fight. But if
Yeah.
I'm adding 2 fights and I'm still at minus 350, I'll add an extra one in there to get it down to like minus 180, minus 200 around there. So
Of
that's
the
what I
tape you
typically
watched
do.
this of the tape you watched the film you watched this week, what sort of 2 matches are you leaning on to go heavy on this week?
Definitely the Dalton Smith by stoppage, Ben Whitaker and Cameron over 8.5 because I'm getting minus 285 on that.
I love that bet. So repeat. So you're getting, what are the odds on Cameron Whitaker to go over 8.5?
So it's minus 285 for the over 8.5, and I believe minus 204 for the fight to go the distance.
Okay, which
And
is
then
right.
just
It's a 10
taking
round.
it's a 10 rounder. Yep, it's a 10 rounder. They finally got that finalized, so it's confirmed it's
Gotcha.
10 rounds.
Okay.
And then I think Ben Whitaker is minus 285 on the money line, which is paying the same as the fight to go over 8.5.
Yeah.
But the safer pick, as I messaged you earlier, is to me because after thinking about it, you make some good points, and you had me thinking. I don't think Ben's gonna win this fight, man. I know a lot of
And
people think stylistically he's gonna make those
they do.
adjustments.
They
I
do.
I don't think I
You know
see it,
what? I know. And you know what? And I have
and I
no
could be
problem.
wrong. I could be wrong.
And I have no problem saying I'm wrong either. And guys, if you want to see my track record, go on my video. I have playlists. One of my playlists is boxing predictions. I mean, the last fight I lost in terms of predictions was the Tank versus Roach fight. We all
Yep.
lost. Nobody saw Roach coming in there doing that. But other than that, what I see in the Whitaker and Cameron fight, and I know a lot of people are on Whitaker's side because on paper they're saying his skill set. Well, they're only saying his skill set for what we've seen Whitaker at his best against lesser guy opponents. You know what I'm saying? Against a guy who was 12-33. I don't. What I really like in Liam Cameron, even though he has 6 losses, never been stopped, is his savviness in the pocket. Only that you can only learn from being a veteran how to get hit. Liam Cameron knows how to get hit. Everything's
Right.
landing and he's rolling and he's kind of loose with everything and he knows how to survive. And I like right now, if I were to go heavy, if I had 20 G's, I like Liam Cameron money line 3-1. But I'm not gonna. I don't have that to go heavy. If somebody's out there, I think Liam Cameron wins the fight. You could just take a money line. It's a three right now. It's 330 to
Yeah.
1. But I'm gonna put that pick on a parlay. I like Liam Cameron training with Dalton Smith. I like where his body's at, his physicality. I'm not going to say he went into that first fight not expecting to win, but getting a taste of that. That first fight was in Riyadh. Getting a
Yep.
taste of that sort of that Saudi love. He doesn't want to let that go. You know what I'm
No, and
saying?
his
And
confidence is out the roof right now.
mate, and some of the guys talking on the forums were like, yeah, but look at some of his losses. He lost to so and so. Boxing is a sport of what have you done for me
For me
lately? You
lately,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
That
Right.
is in here, and that psychological edge that you can't measure, you can't put on paper. We're not going to see it when they stare down. The analyst teams won't talk about it. Cameron has that psychological edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. Yeah, that's my whole thing with that though, Johnny. So I don't feel comfortable betting on both of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So the safe play for me is taking out over 8.5 because
I
obviously Ben
like
don't got the
that.
power to knock him out,
See, we
and
don't
I
get
don't
that
think.
option, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to maybe because I've been loyal to just one gambling app, but like when I downloaded it in 2015 down here, it was one of the only ones. I'm gonna have to do some homework and see if other apps down in Australia allow the over 8.5 or the length of distance rounds because all they have for method of victory is the knockout stoppage, the decision, the draw, or will this fight go the distance? Do you guys have that
Mm,
option?
we do have that. We do have that.
Okay, and it's usually about 2-1.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
thing with DraftKings that I noticed that other books, and I've been shopping around other books, but DraftKings is the only legal book in my state, so I have no choice.
It's the only
Um,
legal one.
it is, it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Over
So
8.5 is
one of the
good.
things that I really want is the punches landed and how many jabs thrown. I wish that my book has that, man. I'd be going nuts off those props if we had that, but DraftKings doesn't have it.
Jeff, thanks for the. Jeff says Sportsbet does allow it to have. I'm gonna have to look at it. I trust you. Maybe I just overlooked it. Christian Hernandez, what time is it in Australia? It's 11:18 on Friday morning. Beautiful part about technology. Muscle, where are you coming from?
I'm coming. I'm over. So Boston, Massachusetts, baby.
I thought you. I don't know why I thought you were in Florida. I thought you were in Miami. You're in Boston.
Yeah, I was born in Miami, but no, I don't live
Oh,
out there though.
okay. Okay. So
Yep.
you're saying that in Massachusetts, there's only one book that's legal?
So So right now I live in New Hampshire, but it's
Okay.
right next to Boston. So with you being in Australia, I just say Boston
So
because
so
everyone's
gam
familiar with Boston.
so gambling isn't legal throughout the whole US?
And in this state where I live in New Hampshire and in Mass, DraftKings is the only legal sports book.
What? How did
At
they
least in New
monopolize
Hampshire.
that?
And well, actually WinBet is legal in Massachusetts, but in New Hampshire where I reside at, only DraftKings is the legal sports book that we can bet on. That's it. No other book. Not
Yeah, that's
FanDuel,
that's insane.
BetMGM, Hard Rock, Caesars. Can't bet on none of that.
All right. So you said you love that. To get back to the original chat, Cameron Whitaker over 8.5. And then your second one was what?
Dalton
Write
Smith
this
by
down, guys.
stoppage.
These are his locks.
Yep. Dalton Smith by stoppage. Fendora money line.
Yep.
Conwell by stoppage.
And what does that come to?
That I won't know that yet until they drop the Dalton props probably tomorrow morning. DraftKings usually drops the props on Fridays. So
Yeah.
but from my math, it's gonna be close to even money.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah.
even at even. I'm thinking maybe like plus 105 around
Yeah.
there. So
Okay.
and I'm gonna load up on that. So
Okay. So the only issue with that would be is that we got to wait one extra day because the Cameron versus Whitaker fight isn't until the following
Sunday.
day. Yeah,
Correct.
Sunday. Well,
Correct.
it's my month. It's weird because it's my Monday.
Yeah, our Sunday's your Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday morning.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that's always a fun night of sleep when you get to go to sleep and the ticket's split in half and you got to wait for that last fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So
so
Johnny, when you place your bets, you do it on an app or you go to the casino and you get a ticket?
I do it on the app. And one of my friends saw the post, one of my clients down here in Sydney, and he was like, "Why? I wonder why all of his tickets are on the paper because we don't have that here. Everything's digital."
Okay. So the reason why, so I do use the app too,
Yeah.
but I was not using the app when I first started betting. So I got banned from the local casino at my town. I got a cease and desist letter, and I'm very close with the guys at the gate there. So I text one of the guys. I'm like, I just got a banned letter here saying I can't go back and place bets. What's going on? And he told me, he's like, listen, I'll be honest with you, Carlos, you were just winning too much, man. You were taking too much money from us, so they banned me from there.
What?
So yeah, so thank God, to the grace of God, I got three other sports book that are about 25-30 minutes from me that I could place bets out over there. So
That's
I bounce in
insane.
between them and I bounce between the app. Yeah,
Okay.
man.
So I want you to answer this question for Goat. He says that Fedora is a 2,400 favorite on the money line. Do you think that's worth it?
It's I mean, as a standalone bet, absolutely not. You're not going to get any money on that. But if you parlay that with, let's say, Dalton Smith by stoppage, the over 8.5 at minus 285 with Cameron and Whitaker, and then throw in let's say Conwell by stoppage. Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
could
and guys,
definitely
this
throw
is
him
what I
into
mean.
your parlay to lessen your odds, absolutely. But
Yeah, and
taking it as
guys,
a
this is what I
standalone bet,
mean
it's not worth it.
in the breakdown when I talk about is the juice worth the squeeze, and when we're looking at Fedora at $1.06, and to use parameters that we're all comfortable with, $100 on $1.06, you're getting $6 back. So
Correct.
is that really worth it? You know what I'm saying? And that's why I agree with Muscle there. I anything $1.06, I'm not going to put a single bet. You would parlay that, but
Absolutely.
but that Conwell by knockout, $1.69. I mean, you put 10 grand on that, he knocks him out, you get close to your money plus 7 grand back. That's
Correct.
something to think about.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the one that I called that knockout. Look, every now and then when you see Styles in the tapes I'm watching, man, I just think Conwell's trajectory. No one's calling him out. His build too. He's only about 5'9", and he carries his power from his heels and how he goes in and out. And
Yep.
I was talking to Ohio. Do you know Ohio Runs Boxing on
Yes. Yep.
Instagram?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I'm following him. Yeah.
so I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. So I was
Mhm.
my hometown. I grew up when we're 12 years old. We're playing in the Little League World Series in that tournament in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I was the pitcher. My catcher was Kelly Pavlik. So my you can see him. He was a middleweight champion of the world. There's a magazine back there with Kelly on it. His only losses
Mhm.
were to Bernard Hopkins or Sergio Martinez. He knocked anyway. Why I reference that Youngstown? I grew up boxing. Boxing's been in our DNA. I was talking to Ohio Runs Boxing about Conwell, and he said that he's working on something and this guy's a wizard. If ever you have a chance to talk to him, this guy knows his boxing. It's insane. he was talking about when Sean Porter was coming up, who's another Ohio kid from Cleveland.
Yep.
Porter's problem was he loved the dogfight and he loved to be in a brawl, but he would showcase it too soon. He wouldn't disguise his game plan to get inside. And that was the one thing I said about Conwell in my breakdown. This was before I talked to Ohio Runs Boxing, and he kind of enlightened me, is that, like I said, the one downside I see in Conwell is he just shows you what he wants to do right off the bat. It's worked up until now, but
Right.
boxing is like, there's levels to it. I just
Right.
don't think Chino is that guy to make Conwell pay for that yet.
No, I mean, you're gonna see levels. You're gonna see difference in levels when they're both in there. At
Yeah,
the highest level, I mean, can Conwell be that good? Well, that's remain to be seen.
yeah,
But there's a reason why no one's calling his name out. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I said he's criminally underrated right now, and I
yep,
don't understand why.
yep.
I mean, the boy can crack, he can fight, he can move.
Him for Xander, like, I'd like to see him talk a bit more.
Xander,
He's like, him for Xander Zayas would be a great matchup to see where both guys are, because I'm a big Zayas fan,
oh, me
and
too.
he on paper he looks good. He's good on the microphone. He has a whole country following him. And
Yep.
Conwell, we would get a lot of those answers as well. A lot of those questions would be answered about, is he the goods too? I think he is. I think Zayas 154 is stacked right now, man. There's so many guys
Stacked.
there. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it was like when Bud left 47 and EJ kind of retired, and 47 was kind of left without, and then Bud goes to 54, and then he fought Majimov, and Zoo had those, and then 54 became this division. And that's my favorite thing about boxing, is like, there's these ebbs and flows of whether it's a single fighter or a whole division who just ups their game based on like the talent pool. And I think Conwell can add that to 54.
I agree. I agree.
Dalton Smith by knockout. Josh Padley on the money line. I like the Pat. How
Oh, I
about, dude,
like that.
Josh Padley? He's on the undercard. His money line though, he's a big fan. He's like $1.11, I
I
think.
think he's minus 1,200, I believe,
Yeah,
or minus
yeah. So
1,600.
yeah, and I don't really like taking. I mean, we saw him against Shakur. He got. I would stay away from him. I like Pat. I mean, I don't know enough about him. I don't want to say I would bet on him
Yeah, but
based off his performance.
there's a reason they matched him up. There's a reason why Eddie Hearn matched him up with who he's going against.
They want to
He's
grow him.
gonna win the
Yeah,
fight.
that's why, exactly, and that's why I love. That's why you're onto something with this boxing gambling, dude. Because you're the first guy I ever met who said he only bets on boxing. And
That's
the
it.
more I thought about that concept and what I do in breaking videos down, breaking fights down, because I only started doing predictions 3 months ago. I didn't want to do predictions. People on my channel were asking me to do predictions because I started my boxing only page. Like, I come from my first book. I've written books. My first book was all about, like, Gary Vaynerchuk's was a reoccurring guest on my show. This is like 2016. Grant Cardone is a buddy of mine. He was my like business advisor for like 4 years. Lawrence Krauss. So I was really into like entrepreneur, and I still am. And then
Yep.
through that, I was interviewing like Evander Holyfield, Larry Holmes. Those guys are in my first book. And then
Oh, that's
I did
dope.
this documentary in Myanmar, in Cyprus, about this ancient bare knuckle sport called Lethwei, to where
Mm.
it comes from Burma and it looks like Muay Thai, but the headbutt is legal. So it's the 8 points, fist, elbow, knee kick, but the head, boom, is legal. And I followed the first ever world champion, who was white, from Canada, named Dave Leduc. I followed him for 2 years. We did a documentary, went into the film shows, the yearly award stuff.
Oh, that's
And then
fire.
one of my investors was like, "Look, you need to focus just on boxing," because he felt like that I box, it was my passion. And it was only 3 months ago where I started giving my predictions, which was I was unwilling to, because I thought I was taken away from the fighters, because there's so much irreverence in our sport online. Like, look at the big guys in our boxing space on YouTube. They talk shit about the guys who lose. A lot of them are clowns. A lot of them have never thrown a punch before. And I was just like, I'm going to cover the sport of boxing. I'm going to be reverent about it. I'm going to be respectful about it. And even now that I do the predictions, back to my point about how you said you only bet on it, I'm seeing through the analysis the matchups, where guys are in their careers, things I'd already known but never really looked at it from a gambling perspective.
Yep.
There's a lot of money, man, because you
A
could,
lot.
once you understand the sport, once you understand the timeline of where a fighter is, where they're going, the trajectory, then you see the odds. Bro, you figured it out. You tapped into that little matrix, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I've always told people. I'm trying to tell you, and I'm glad that you picked up on that.
I picked right, dude. I get a lot of people ask, dude. I've had a lot, like, I'm just saying. I said as soon as you said you sent me the slips and said we should, and I was like, let me think of how we can work together. I was like, oh, I gotta talk to this dude for sure. You
Yeah, no,
pick.
I
I
appreciate
saw it
that,
right
man.
away. I saw it
Yeah,
right away. I was like,
and I
I'm
and I tell people all the time, listen, boxing, there's so much money in that sport to be made, and other people are like, nah, baseball, football. I'm like, listen, boxing is the easiest sport to bet on.
yeah.
But the problem is a lot of people don't, it's not as popular as, basketball, UFC even,
US
football.
UFC has gotten a lot harder, man. I mean,
I,
like 5 years ago, it was easier, but because of the everything that Dana White talks about, how he wants to make boxing like the UFC. No,
no.
Dana White will take young, talented guys, and what the UFC does because of that. Like for instance, Yair Rodriguez. When Yair Rodriguez was 22 years old out of Mexico, he's still at the top of the game. He's in his early 30s, but I feel he lost a big portion of his full potential in one fight against Frankie. I think it was Frankie Edgar. When Edgar
Yeah.
was a 30-year-old, 32-year-old former double champ, a wrestler fighting a 21-year-old striker, and Edgar beat the piss
Based
out of
off of them.
Yair. And
Yeah.
Yair took
See?
like 2 to 3 years off. You know what I'm
Because
saying? Like
off that one loss, right? Off that
off that,
loss?
yeah, he didn't. We didn't see
That's
him.
wild.
And this is and this is my beef about like that whole. We should pause as boxing fans and think that like that UFC style, the best fighters fight the best, is a good thing because boxing's different. You have to manage a young kid's career. You can't take a Carmel Moulton and put him in there with Tank right away. You can't. And people are trying to rush. I know Abdullah's already in the top 15, I think now, so
Yeah,
he's
he's in the
about
top
already
15.
there. But
Yeah.
in boxing, we see a young kid, an up and comer, Ben Whitaker 2 fights ago, and we're instantly thinking put him in there with a
Yeah,
champion.
we're trying to rush him.
Boxing's
We're
not.
rushing him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's the
can't rush. You can't rush these guys.
you can't. You got to slowly build them up, man. Let them get that experience in.
Yeah. So, what do you think about? Have you thought too much about the? So you said somebody said the money line, the Fandora money line. No, we already talked about it. Whitaker money line, Cameron, Dalton
Mhm.
Smith by knockout, $1.26. What's in the all these fights because the money line. The only money line I like is the Whitaker Cameron. You're gonna
Right.
have to go method of victory to make your money.
You have to. And there was another fight too. But I think his odds are outrageous. Kevin Hagler Brown. I think he's fighting
Okay.
tomorrow. But I think I got to look at my book, but I think he's like at minus 900, I believe.
Okay.
But it probably went up on him. But he's another good one. You could kind of add, just kind of bring down the odds, the odds down a little bit. But
Yeah.
once you start going over 3 fights, there's a
You
lot of
get
moving
greedy.
pieces. You get
Yeah.
greedy, and there's a lot of
I
moving
don't want
parts
to.
there.
I've done that. You get greedy.
You get
Next thing
too
you know, you're
greedy.
betting on badminton in China, and you're like, "What the hell?"
Facts. It's a setup for disaster. I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell you.
So I love the perimeters around just boxing, man. I've been trying to adhere to it. The the 1, 2, 3. So do you want to give it what? So of I want to hear the total odds and kind of regurgitate because not everyone's going to have like 10,000 or 20,000 to play with. Some
Yeah.
of us are just like I'm what I call like a recreational bettor. I like doing it to keep me in line with what I'm talking about and to show receipts because YouTube likes receipts. They're like, "Do you
Yep.
actually bet on the fights?" I'm like, "All right, I'll show you.
Put your money
Yeah,
where
I
your
bet on the
mouth is.
fights."
Show me some receipts here. Yep.
Yeah, but guys, I want to let everyone know real quick who's listening that I don't gamble on the fights to get rich though. I'm not doing the crux of my channel is to educate people on the sport. And when I say stats don't lie, every now and then an idiot will be in the comments, what stats? It's a philosophy about learning the sport of boxing so you can have educated conversations about fighters and not just be like, that dude's a scrub or that
Oh,
dude's a
right,
bum.
right.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like I can't even talk to those people. Like when Bud fought EJ, that was like my biggest hesitation because I'm a huge EJ fan and I like Southpaws and I'm a huge Bud Crawford fan. And
Right.
going into that fight, I was like almost at night I'd be sleeping like shit. Who am I gonna bet on though? Like even right now, like beginning of May, we got the card in New York City. It's been on my mind at night. Like, who am I going to take between ABJ and Teofimo? Like Arnold Barboza Jr. Man, I've been riding him his whole career. I picked him to beat Jack Catterall. Everybody said I was crazy, and like I
That was a
like
good
how he
pick,
carries
man.
his. He's a great boxer.
He
He
is.
does things. Man, he is a. For all you guys who want to just see blood, you want to learn the sport. Watch Arnold Barboza box, man. I love. But then again, Teofimo Lopez. This kid isn't. wonderful athlete. He does things in the ring that
Yeah,
Barboza can't do. So
right.
it's like, so
And when
I'm
Teal's on.
mate. So I'm like in my head, I'm like, shit, I'm nervous about that card because it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
where am I
That
gonna
that's a
go
true
with?
50-50 right there, that fight.
Yeah,
I don't know who to lean with. As far as wagering, I gotta wait closer to, I don't know, man. I gotta see them at weigh-in before I could
yeah,
even think about,
same.
putting any, you know what I mean? I gotta see what they look like.
See,
And I've
the
been following
unfortunate,
Teofimo, man. He's been the confidence that he has right now, he's so comfortable right now. He's
yeah, and
doing,
I
the dancing, the joking, the fooling around while he's training, but he's looking
yeah,
good. He's
yeah,
looking
I saw
good,
him.
John.
I saw him hitting the pads today. He's looking real good. But
Sharp, sharp.
my issue with Teo though is how much of that bravado is disguising insecurity versus somebody who never had to lean on bravado, has always had to be the underdog in ABJ. That when a fight does go into the darkness, when you're in that fucking pit, what's bravado going to do for you? You know what I'm? So it's
Right.
like,
Yeah. How you gonna
you
get
know,
out of that? You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Yeah,
exactly.
that's
So
true. Because it gets
that's
real. It gets
it's
real.
an intriguing fight
Yep.
in the Garcia Raleigh. I saw Raleigh's been training again with his father. Kudos to all these young fighters because they all look switched on too. This card, like nobody's messing around in the media.
Yeah.
Taylor's not. Are you able to read the comments?
Oh yeah, I can see. Yep. So Rocket,
Oh,
that's my boy Rocket, man. Me and Rocket, we're in I met Rocket through Gary, my boy Gary, his live and stuff. Rocket's a good dude.
nice. Give Gary a shout out again.
Yeah, so Gary, 3D boxing, he is the best handicapper in the business right now.
We got to
The
do one all together then.
Yeah, man. Us, hey, we come together, man. We're gonna do some
Yeah,
things. I'm telling you,
yeah.
man. I'm
We got to do one
telling you.
together.
You put our brains together, man. What?
So,
Oh,
so talk to me about when you say handicapping for people out there who might not be aware what you mean. Explain that real quick. Why is Gary a great handicapper?
so Gary, what Gary does, and this is to me, this dude's special, man. So he breaks down film and tape like nobody I've ever seen before, man. Like you, Johnny, for example, you
I'm a
amaze me,
baby.
man.
I'm
No, no,
learning.
no, no. Listen, but don't underhand yourself because
Okay.
when I watch your YouTubes and all your predictions and stuff like that, you know what you're talking about. You truly know the sport of boxing. And I gotta commend you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been in my life, my whole life.
Yeah, you could definitely tell. Like you're like a connoisseur with this, man. You know what you're
Mm,
talking about. You have an eye for it.
mm,
And I noticed that a lot about you. Now with Gary, what he'll do is he'll do 3 fights. He'll study 3 fights and then another 3 fights. And
mm-hmm.
then he'll put out the tape and then he'll write his notes down on each fighter. And he'll put out his lock of the week on Thursdays. And when I tell you, man, his hit ratio on his
On the
locks,
on the lots.
put it like this: we're now in April, okay, in 2025. We
Mm,
bet on 15 fights so far from January to April, and I tailed his picks too, just so you know. Um, and we are right now. We are 15. We won 12 out of our 15. So that's 80%. We have an 80% hit ratio right now from January to April out of
mm-hmm,
15 fights. We've only lost three
mm-hmm.
times.
It's amazing percentage. Is that like
You
eight
know,
80?
so
Yeah.
yeah, and then last year, I got to be honest with you. So last year, I mean, Gary made me. I want to say last year over 200 easy.
That's insane.
Over 200 easy,
Is
man.
so what? And he has a YouTube channel.
He does. Yep, 3D boxing
Yeah. And does it? Okay, so I'm gonna definitely. I'll put his channel. I'll shout his channel out on my next video, and I'll shout it out when I do the description of this one.
for sure. And we got some
Yeah.
guys in here that are subscribed to his Patreon, like Rando Light,
Okay.
Rocket. Those are my guys too, and they make
Okay.
some good money with Gary also, man. So
Yeah. I need to pick his brain on that, how to do that, because I'm still. Somebody told me I need to do that. I was like, I don't even know what that means. So like a Patreon and all that stuff.
yeah, we're on
Yeah.
Discord, Patreon, all that, man.
Yeah. Okay. I got to pick his brain on some stuff. What do you have? What was his lock this week?
Actually, he just put it out today. I was actually on his live earlier today. So it's the over 8.5 on Ben and Cam,
Yep.
um, Conwell money line, and I
Okay.
can't pronounce this guy's name, man. Rocket, help me out. I can't pronounce this guy's name. It's
What
he
card?
got he got a weird name. I think
Is
Rocket
he
and Randall Light was in there.
is
Oh
he in the
man,
UK?
he's at
Is it
minus 1200 right now. His line.
What
Um,
card is he on?
I believe he's on the Is he on? He's not on the Conwell card. I think he might be on the Josh Padley card.
Okay. Yeah, because
Oh man, what's
you got Dalton Smith, which is in Sheffield headlining. You got Ben Whitaker in Birmingham. But then there's fights right now taking place in Dubai or in Saudi Arabia with they're doing a tournament. Starts with a K, Rando said. Ryan Kelly opponent. Francisco Martinez. Yeah, I think that Ryan Kelly's opponent's a late replacement, and he's at Vosdik. Probably wouldn't be Vosdik. I think Brant Muscle might know that one. Yeah, Vozdik's fighting this weekend. Supposed to win that fight. Ryan Kelly's late replacement opponent is that Irish kid who replaced Ishmael, and he's actually the favorite. I don't know if that's the fight you're talking about. So you guys leave some questions. Yeah, I know he froze. We'll see if he comes back. We covered the 4 fights this week on the channel. I gave you. Did you end up finding it?
Yeah, my bad. I was on DraftKings trying to look for it. His name is Tristan Calcruz. He's at
Oh, Cal
minus
Cruz.
1200.
Yeah, Cal Cruz
Calcruz,
has one
yeah.
loss. Golden Boy re-signed him about 6 months ago. He's
Yep.
on the the Fundora card.
Okay, yeah, I don't know too much about him, but Gary
Yeah.
from the film that he did, he said that he's a lock.
Yeah, Cal Cruz is a big boy. Has one loss. He's fighting at Bridgerweight, but they're going to eventually. I think he's a heavyweight, but
Okay.
he's ranked in the either Bridger or Cruiser categories. And I remember like 6 months ago, Oscar posted how Golden Boy signed him, Tristan Kelcruth. So yeah, he's a lock. Just
He's
money
a
line
lock.
lock.
Okay. Just money line, yeah. So the total odds on that is minus 172.
Okay. All
So
right. So guys,
that's
hopefully everyone here is taking notes. You guys know my picks. I already put it in my bookies, but I'll screenshot that. I'll read them to you guys real quick. So here's my parlay. These come out to almost 13 to 1 odds. $100 with all 4 gets you 1,271 back. I'm taking Conwell by stoppage, $1.69. I'm taking Smith by stoppage, $1.26. I'm taking Fundora by stoppage at 181. I just think she looks great. I think only 23 years old, her range. I like how she fights flat-footed. Everything I've seen with her is she's just getting better and better. Her opponent's going to definitely be there to get hit, and I don't think she has any arsenal to even back up Fundora. And you got, I'm taking Liam Cameron, 330 money line, all 4 on the same ticket, 1271. 100 to win 1,071, 1,000, and I'll put that in the community section, guys, like I do
good picks, man.
every week. And last week we hit. I'm happy about last week because it's always. I forgot about 2 weeks ago we did good too, but I was shocked how many people within the American boxing space were picking Stanionis to beat Boots, man. And it's kind of like it baffles my mind when some of these experts talk trash about Jaron because I'm like, are you really talking trash about the boxer that you see in front of you? Or are you bringing politics into your perspective? And we all know if you bring politics in your perspective in boxing over time, you're going to be looked at like a fool.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
maybe right now you're speaking to the choir or you have an echo chamber. But some guys that I respect, we're talking like how Stanionis was going to make Jaron, was going to give him a run, and
I heard
it
some
played out
people. I
exactly
was
how I
hearing
thought.
some people saying he was gonna get knocked out.
That's
And
insane. That is insane. Just
retarded.
all you have to
Baffling.
do is watch Stanionis fight. High guard, jab,
Yep.
just jab to get in. That's all. It's so basic. It's very.
He was tailor made for Boots. Tailor made.
Tailor made. Now, like maybe that style against Tim Tszyu, if he were to go 154, that would be an interesting fight. But
Ooh,
I just don't. Hopefully we see. And I'm a Stanionis fan, and it's kind of like back in 2023 when I had to pick Bud over EJ, and people were shocked. I was like, I'm a Errol fan, but I just think Bud wins this fight. I just think his style. I just think what he does in the ring. And
But you see what I'm saying about you, Johnny? You have an eye for this.
you just gotta see it.
A lot of people were picking Spence to win that fight.
It's
You're
crazy.
one of the few people that was actually picking Bud, man.
And you know what, man? It was basically what I saw. Now I like what you said. You said when you study film, it's something to talk about. It's a talking point. You said you'll pull up 3 fights, three
each fighter.
the previous 3 fights.
Yep.
Now, I usually what I was doing was 5 fights. I was doing these statistical breakdowns. The last 5, I watched the last 5. It was taking a lot of time, And then over time, when you watch a fighter, depending on where they are in their career,
Yep.
for instance, you watch Liam Cameron 5 fights ago, and you watch him last fight. That's a different fighter. You know, he's a little bit older now. He's maturing, and also when you're growing into your career and a resume, Ben Whitaker 5 fights ago, his opponent's skill set was here. 5 fights now, they're here.
Exactly.
So
Right.
what I'm really doing now is like one fight. I want to see what this person looks. If it wasn't a first round knockout, if it was a 10 rounder and they win all 10, I'll watch that whole fight. Let me see what they look like. Let me see how much damage they took and how old they are. And there's all those little factors. That's my system.
Yeah, no, that's a good system. That's a good system because there's a lot of intangibles with it too, you know. So
Jonny acting like he never knew about boxing.
PPV talk.
You guys are crazy, dude. Look, man. Everybody who's on the channel, supporting the channel, this is exactly what I wanted to do. We could shoot the shit about boxing, and even in the comment section on the videos, you don't see a lot of. I think now what we've done here is people won't come recklessly in this comment section because people will check them on it. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah, they know better. They
They
got
know
drop the
better.
line.
I
Drop the
learned,
line.
man, I learned a lot. I learned a lot by the people who watch the channel. Like I wasn't aware there was a fight that took place 2 weeks ago. I did a short about how they were looking at camp, and then somebody was like, "Well, you know they switched camps, or you know this happened in their life." And I was like, "Did it? I didn't know that." I went and did my research. I was like, "Damn, I gotta
It
do more
happened.
research." It
Yeah.
does, dude. And
Yep.
boxing fans will get you on it. I think boxing fans are the best fans, man, because a true boxing fan will follow a fighter throughout their career and know everything.
Everything, man.
I,
They know
so
what they
there's so
wore
much.
yesterday. They know what they wore last week. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like they know everything, man.
see, my thing with the boxing, he says Johnny's acting like he never knew about. I was a boxing pure. Like I started from a 7-year-old up until Kelly Pavlik lost. So Pavlik retired in 2009. I was at the Jermaine Taylor fight in Atlantic City. I was at the Max Tuche fight in the second row at the Anaheim Disneyland at the Pond when he knocks Tuche out. I was at the who is the, I think he might have been a Dominican knockout artist, Edson Miranda. Miranda was
Oh,
supposed to
Miranda.
beat Miranda was supposed to beat Pavlik. Pavlik was put up against all these guys who were supposed to beat him on his way to Jermaine, and no one beat him. And so what happened was when Kelly retired at 30 years old, I didn't watch really boxing like I used to watch from about 2010 to about, I was all MMA from about 2010 to about 20 maybe 16, 17.
So 6, 7 years.
Yeah, so there is that gap that like I have to remind, like where's it, what's been. So every now and then I am cautious and I am kind of like, I come at it with the humility. Like I try not to come at it like an expert because I'm far from an expert. There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
All right, anything? I'm just gonna give you a hard time, man. You know your stuff. It's all
No,
good.
so.
Anything you want to add? Do you ever do like a cheeky, like anything we didn't cover? Any sort of tips you want to give the people listening? Maybe small money bets. Like, what if somebody wants to build? Is there such a thing that like, hey, I want to build to be able to do 5,000 bets, but my bank account doesn't allow it? What sort of advice would you give? Like, how do you start small to build?
Yeah, see, I was actually gonna actually bring that point up. You actually just beat me to it. I'm glad you brought that up. So I always tell people too when they ask me, how do you bet that much money and get that, and that much of a payout? And I always tell people you have money management is the most important thing. Number one is money management. And then after money management is you building up your bankroll. So figure out your unit size and also make sure that whatever you bet, you can afford to lose that.
Okay.
So I'll be honest with you, I've lost $50,000 before on a bet. And I only
What
lost it
fight was
one
that?
time.
What
That
fight
was
was that?
the Tim Tszyu versus Bankroll.
Oh,
I
fuck.
had 50 on Sim money line, and dude, man, my heart dropped, bro. I was gonna jump off a damn cliff, Johnny.
Uh,
I was driving. I was like, I'm about to jump off this damn cliff,
mate,
and
I know the
that was
feeling.
my first $50,000 bet I've ever lost.
Mate,
You know,
I know I remember the last blackjack hand I ever played when I lived in Las Vegas. I remember the sequence. I was playing $300 hands, and it did $300 hands. The dealer goes 9 and 9. I was at the Flamingo. It's like 3 a.m. I just got off a shift. 9 and 9. I split those. Boom, boom. He shows his card. He shows a 5. So then his second card is flat. Gives me another 9. I split that. So I have 300, 600, 900. My first 9, he puts an 8, 17. Cool. Second one, queen, 19. Third one was a 9. I wasn't allowed to split it. So I had 18, 20, and 18. He has a 5, turns over a king, so he has 15. His next card was a 6.
Ooh.
I was fucking sitting there.
Dude, that would
I'm
have been
walking.
so
I'm
tight,
walking through.
bro.
I'm walking down
That's
Vegas
wow.
Boulevard. Vegas Boulevard, 3 a.m. Fucking broke, drunk. Oh,
Oh
it wasn't.
yeah, that's a
It was.
bad night, man.
It wasn't 50K, but I know the
But it
feeling.
don't matter, man. That's still a loss, bro.
Dude,
A loss
I
is a
was
loss. I
sick.
don't care if it was $500. Like
Yeah,
shit, it's
I
$100
was sick.
shit. But
Tim Zoo, that Zoo fight, man, he got caught. If you rewatch it early in that first exchange,
and he never recovered from it.
he never recovered, man.
Never, man.
And the thing that Zoo, it's always easier to play Monday morning quarterback. Look, the thing when you look at all of his fights, he doesn't really roll with punches too well. You don't really
Notice
see.
that.
It's not in his style to kind of be like
Yeah.
how Liam Cameron's real loose. That's why I'm confident in that bet. He rolls with a lot and he's
Yeah, he's
loose.
very fluid with it too.
Yeah,
When he's rolling, he's fluid.
Zoo isn't like that. He was catching everything straight and
Yeah.
mate
And he kept his head on the center line. It's like, fuck, and move your head, man.
50 loss. Oh
50
God,
on that, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Did they send you an email or something after nothing?
Well, at the casino, oh hell no, man. You know Vegas loves me because they know I go in there every week at 20, 50,000. You know, so they're waiting for me to lose.
Was that a Vegas bet?
That was Vegas. I didn't play because on the app they only let me bet up to 10,000 on the app. So whenever I make these, $50,000 bets, I place them at the casino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to answer some of these questions?
There's 4 weeks in a month. So I'm always accounting for at least 1 week out of that month that I'm going to lose one of my bets.
Okay.
I normally hit
25, 75.
Yes, exactly. I always hit 3 weeks in a row. There's some months I hit all 4 weeks.
Okay.
But there's some months that I'll miss probably 1 week, but I'll just make up for that the following week, and I'll just bet a little bit bigger to recoup that loss. You know what I mean? So, and then with also me tailing Gary's picks, also, I mean, the hit ratio is pretty high, man. It's pretty high.
Okay.
But on those slump weeks, I make sure that, like when I lost against Tim Zoo, when I lost at 50,000, the next week, I remember I ended up betting, I think, 20,000, and I made, I think, 15,000 back. Following weekend, I bet 30,000. I made 17,000. So, in those next 2 weeks, I was almost already making that $50,000 back. So
how hard was it for you not to chase that tail though and lose the 50 and want to bet 50 right back?
It was hard as a motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
I was talking to my partner, and she was like, "Listen, bet another 50." And I said, "No, we're not going to do that because if we bet
she told you that."
Yeah, because the thing with her, she knows. She sees all the money coming in, right? So she feels like, all right, because she knows nothing about boxing, but she knows that I know what's going on. So she's like, you know what? Bet another 50. We won 50 many times before. Just do it again, and we'll make it back. And I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. You got to start a little bit lower, So instead of doing 50, I'll do 10 to 20, 10 to 15, And then the next week I'll do the same thing because they're gonna add up, So that's my rule. I don't like to chase bets, though, man.
Yeah, that's some good advice too.
I don't like to chase losses.
All right, yo, we're almost going on the hour, guys. It's 12 o'clock noon here in Sydney. It's nighttime in America. You guys are getting tired, right? 10 p.m. where you are?
It's 9:55 as we speak right now.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, man, that's it, man. If you guys want to follow me on social media and want a little bit more about some of my strategies and things like that, if you want to talk about bankroll money management, you can reach out to me at Money Muscle Brown on Instagram. And then you can also get me on Facebook at Carlos Saya Brown. That's SAIABROWN. And that's it. Those are 2 media platforms that I use. So Instagram and Facebook, you get me on there, and we can connect. For sure.
Right, people, I'll put that in the description. Kristen recognizes you from Third Round Boxing. Definitely drop a follow. 7 p.m. in Cali. Guys, I appreciate everyone. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, following. Also, here we go. Muscle, we'll probably do this again, guys, too. So, get used to this, guy.
I like this, man. This was good tonight. This is
All right, man. Good luck this weekend, everyone.
Let's make this money, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's cash in.
Guys.